We had something that sparked a little debate between Jacob and I, which was the Hall of Famers that he had played with, and we started counting them up, and LaDainian Tomlinson is there, and Antonio Gates will be there.
Peyton Manning.
And Peyton Manning, of course.
Champ Bailey.
And Champ Bailey when he was with Denver. And we think that Phillip Rivers will get it. We got into a little bit of a debate about Darren Sproles. You believe that Sproles has got a case to be in the Hall of Fame. Make your case.
So you said the other day that Earl Thomas was a borderline Hall of Famer. And the go-to thing that you kept saying was he's on the All-Decade team, and that means something.
He is. Yeah.
Okay, well, Darren Sproles was also on the All-Decade team.
Okay.
Darren Sproles has over 19,000 total yards in his career, 64 touchdowns, including 9 return touchdowns. He has the most all-purpose yards in a season with 2,696. Darren Sproles created a position that other teams have tried to copy. I mean, he is, in my opinion, the best third down back in NFL history. And Saints fans know what his loss meant to them. San Diego Charger fans know what his loss meant to them. And they tried to replace him with other guys, and it cannot be done because he was so unique in what he did and his abilities. And he did it for so long at such a high level. He did it not only running the football, he had over 3,000 yards rushing. He also did it receiving the football with over 4,000 yards, receiving almost 5,000 yards. And then, of course, he had his 11,000-plus return yards. This was a guy that was a game changer, and he was the best at what he did for a decade. And for me, that puts you in the Hall of Fame. He's got the most combined total return yards in a 2-game playoff span. Most all-purpose yards in a single season. We mentioned that one in 2011. He's got the most career kickoff return yards for the Chargers. Most all-purpose yards in a season for any Saints player. Also, most career punt return touchdowns for any Eagles player. So he did it not only for one team, not for 2 teams, but he did it for 3 teams. And if Earl Thomas is anywhere close to the Hall of Fame, Darren Sproles should be as well.
Okay. I think it's I'm not crazy about the comparison to Thomas because they play completely different positions. So I'm not sure that
I'm not going off your metric.
No, well, but
All-Decade team.
They're different metrics, though, aren't they?
Oh, they're different.
Well, if you got a running back versus a safety, I think that's quite different. Okay. All right, here's my case against, and I could really stop right here, but the total yards thing, which is an unbelievable statistic, he's 4,000 yards behind Brian Mitchell in total career yards, and Mitchell never got close to the Hall of Fame. Good as he was, and he's a local kid, so we've known him forever. Mitchell, 23,000 total yards, and Mitchell's never even made the finals. 55 touchdowns does not put you in the top 60.
You got 64.
I'm sorry, 64 does not put you in the top 60.
Don't forget those special teams touchdowns.
Okay, I apologize.
The phase of the game
does not put you in the top 60 in all-time touchdowns. The 3,650 yards puts him 270th on the all-time.
He's not going in as a running back.
No, I'm giving you all of the. I'm making all facets of my argument. I mean, your rushing yards put you behind Justin Forsett and Randy McMillan. Okay, I'm not saying that Sproles wasn't great. I loved him. I loved him at his time in New Orleans, and he did a lot of things well. But I don't think he's a Hall of Famer. I don't think
he's the best at what he did for over a decade.
So was Brian Mitchell, and he didn't.
Okay, maybe Brian should be in the Hall of Fame.
Well, okay.
Lynn Swann barely had more receiving yards than Darren Sproles.
Lynn Swann, if you take his raw statistics, would not be close to the Hall of Fame. He did it in the Super Bowl. He made the biggest plays in 2 separate Super Bowls. Really 3, if you want to. Go watch Super Bowl 10. He made the best catch you'll ever see in your life. It won him the game. Go look at Super Bowl 13. He made one of the best catches you'll ever see. It put the game away for Pittsburgh. And in Super Bowl 14, he scored the touchdown over 2 defenders that gave them the lead over the Rams for the first time in the second half. Swann's raw statistics don't get him anywhere close. Those 3 games put Lynn Swann in the Hall of Fame, and I'll argue that with anybody. I think Sproles belongs in the Hall of Very Good. I mean, I don't think he gets in. Okay,
he was the best third down back in the NFL for his time.
He was. I'm not arguing that at all.
When he left the Chargers and when he left the Saints, both teams felt that, and both teams made it public knowledge that they felt the loss of Darren Sproles. And then you throw in what he did in the return game. Now, remember, he wasn't given the opportunity to play as much running back, but when he was, he shined. He was behind LaDainian Tomlinson in San Diego. Obviously, he was behind Mark Ingram in New Orleans. This is a guy that, I mean, he had some playoff moments as well, won a Super Bowl as well.
Mm-hmm. There are other backs that have put up similar numbers to, and I agree with you that Sproles is overall – the total yards argument is the best one, okay? There are other players that put up similar numbers that are not in the Hall of Fame, and they use comps a lot. I gave you Brian Mitchell. Let me give you another one. Eric Metcalf is within 1,800 yards of what Sproles did in his career. And Metcalf, who was a terrific player, didn't get close.
But you're talking about mostly kick return and punt return yards. Like, so for Brian Mitchell, Sproles had 1,600 more rushing yards. He had, 2,500 more receiving yards than Brian Mitchell. So most of his, and that's what it's the totality of what Sproles did and how he was a runner, a receiver, and a kick returner at a very high level.
Let me give you Tiki Barber, whose numbers are also very, very similar total to what we're talking about with Sproles, who is also not in the Hall of Fame. Herschel Walker, total yards, really close. Not in the Hall of Fame. Now, maybe Walker should be because of what he did in the USFL. He's kind of a special case. But the comps to what Sproles did are not in the Hall. I don't think he gets in. I think he's a great player.
Tiki Barber was never the best at what he did in the NFL. Darren Sproles was.
Okay, but Tiki Barber was an every down back at.
Okay, we're not talking about going in as a running back. We're talking about going in as an all-purpose player.
You're talking about a specialty position and being the absolute best at it. Let me ask you.
And his third down back.
Okay, it's a specialty position. It is not an every down position. That by definition is specialty, right? What do you? There are some people that believe that Steve Tasker belongs in the Hall of Fame because he was the best special teams
War
player.
Daddy's what he was.
Okay, yeah. There are people that think that Steve Tasker belongs in the Hall of Fame, and I'll listen to that argument. He was the absolute best at what he did, but what he did was a specialty. It wasn't an every down thing, and because of that, Tasker's not in the Hall of Fame. Probably won't get in. I think he's a fascinating argument. I think Sproles is an interesting argument. I'm not going to tell you it'll never happen. I'm telling you I don't think he will get in.
He's also one of the 50 best players in San Diego Chargers history, and just throwing another. He was on the anniversary team. Just throwing another one your way, Hanny.
That's which is also awesome. Look, there's plenty of things to like on Darren Sproles' resume. I just don't think it gets him in the Hall.
But I want to ask you this because the Earl Thomas kind of started. We were talking about how many Hall of Famers I was fortunate enough to play with. What makes you think Earl Thomas is a fringe Hall of Famer and Darren Sproles is not? Because the All-Decade team was the thing that you kept saying.
Well, he's been in the league for 10 years, and he's been a Pro Bowler 8 of those years, okay? And he was on 2 Super Bowl teams, and he was a Super Bowl champion once. You look at, again, the metrics are very, very different when you're talking about running backs who are they use raw numbers a whole lot more with the running backs than you do with safeties as far as total tackles. Buda Baker just got the highest contract per year in NFL history for a safety and ain't ever intercepted a pass in his life. That blew my mind, by the way. Earl Thomas has been considered one of the top, say, 4 players at his position 8 years out of 10 in the NFL. And that put him on the all-decade team, and I think that goes a long way. And Earl Thomas was an every down player. That's my argument for. And by the way, I'm not certain that Earl Thomas gets in the Hall of Fame. I think it's close. I think he's got a better chance than Sproles does.
There for a while, we were doing a poll question every day on all of our local shows here. It's been a minute. I think we should bring it back.
Yeah,
I think so. For the next hour and 17 minutes, we should have it up. Poll question of the day: Is Darren Sproles a Hall of Famer?
Is he in or is he out?
We should leave it up to the listeners.
Well, they can vote. I need to be convinced some other way. I need to be. There's something else that you got to give me.
And obviously, you're entitled to your opinion, but
Yeah.
when we would talk about Hall of Famers in the NFL locker rooms, we would define it as the person who was the best player at his position for a long period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think there was a better third down running back and I know it's a specialty position, than Darren Sproles was. For a long time, I don't think there was a better punt returner than Darren Sproles was. Now, my cousin Devin, you could say kickoff returner, but there's two positions that he would be in the argument for the best over a long period of time. We're talking about 5+ years.
Put it on a poll, Guillermo. Let's see. Let's see what the listeners think. I think he's a great player. I don't think he's in the Hall. Take a break. We'll be back.
Haters hate.
I'm not. See,
haters hate.
See, now you're taking the Jimmy I thing. You're painting me because I don't think he's in the Hall of Fame. Doesn't mean I don't think he's a great
before
player.
We take a break. We got 3 people in this studio: Cade, Playboy, Paul.
You've heard the arguments. You want to play jury at this
just
point?
do it. Just raise your hand if you think Darren Sproles deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Okay, 2 out of 3. 3 out of 2 in the room.
You're just influencing people.
That's what we were doing. We were giving them our arguments.